what Max Kellerman had to say about this because I have a feeling I'm going to get at him for something that he said to me earlier. So, Max, if you don't mind, I'd like you to go first here, sir.
Sure. I think so long as this is temporary, so long as AD can come back this year at some point, let's say a month from now, as you said yesterday, this can be very good. This will be very good for LeBron James and the Lakers. Because, Stephen A., every season, remember Game 1 against the Clippers last year? Remember those early season struggles in Miami and then later Cleveland? Every year, LeBron James, who's in the finals every season, has to figure out how to lead a group of guys to the promised land. And early in the season, he needs to figure out what everyone can do, how he can bring them along, how he can build them up, who he can rely on, how he can build up the guys he can't rely on and put them in positions. It's like a coach on the floor where he will be able to rely on them and they'll come through. With Anthony Davis, that really masks a lot of things. If you have LeBron and AD, that will mask a lot of things on any team. What's going to happen now is Kuzma and others had to step up yesterday, is guys on the team, role players, will be given responsibility that they simply wouldn't have if AD's in the lineup. And not just 1 or 2 games, Stephen A., but for many games while AD is resting and recovering. And that will build the team up so that when AD comes back, they are more equipped to deal with the playoffs than they would have been otherwise. I think this will turn out to be a good thing for the Lakers, provided AD comes back.
Well, I get the provider, I get the caveat there. I would tell you, I don't think this is going to be a good thing at all. I think the Lakers right now, I think their championship aspirations are compromised. Let me be very, very clear. There is no way in hell the Los Angeles Lakers are winning the championship without Anthony Davis. And I'm talking about Anthony Davis at 100%. I think that Ty Lue is doing an exceptional job with the Los Angeles Clippers, and it's to be commended for it. I think Quinn Snyder and those boys in Utah have been sensational. We can't ignore them. I think the Denver Nuggets, they tend to come on strong as the season progresses, and I'm certainly not going to rule out Dame Dollar and the Portland Trail Blazers. Without Anthony Davis, the Lakers are going home early. They'll make the playoffs, but they're going home. They're not going to the championship, okay? Let me put that out there first. Secondly, and more importantly, here's why it's a bad thing, because LeBron is 36 and he's not getting any younger. And the reality of the situation is that he's going to be out there on the court trying to carry a load and having to carry a heavier load than he had anticipated. Now, is he equipped to deal with it for a season? Sure. But who knows what kind of toll that's ultimately going to take on him and his body moving forward. Because if I'm the Los Angeles Lakers, Max Kellerman, I'll leave Anthony Davis out at least a month. Here's where I get scared. I'm hearing the same language that was used when Kevin Durant got injured. When we talk about the calf strain. I'm hearing the same language. It sounds eerily similar. And so for me, when I listen to that and I hear that, I know Anthony Davis hears it. And so, all right, how all out are you going to go when you're absolutely positively petrified you might tear your Achilles? Because if he tears his Achilles, he's out for next season. He's out for next season. Not just this year. He's out for next season as well, with LeBron being 37 years of age. So to me, if there's any way that I can do this, if you were to tell me, Max, if Anthony Davis sits out for the rest of the season, he'll be fine moving forward. I would sit Anthony Davis out for the rest of the year. Seriously. Just to make sure he's ready for the last 2 years of LeBron James' career. That's how I view it. I don't know whether it's going to be 2 years, 3 years, 1 year. But I'm saying I would just sit up there. I wouldn't take any chances with Anthony Davis because Anthony Davis is tied to LeBron. And listen, LeBron's interests are not necessarily aligned with the Lakers. Lakers are long term because they want Anthony Davis here for years to come, long after LeBron is gone. In the case of LeBron, you're 36 years old. It's your 18th year in the league. You ain't taking anything for granted. You're trying to win now. So it's not necessarily aligned, his interest with that of the Lakers, even though they both align when it comes to Anthony Davis. If I'm the Lakers, it's not even, I already got that chip. I'm already back to relevancy. I'm the reigning champion. I don't even play Anthony Davis. I might not play him for the rest of the year. Maybe.
But they're saying 2 to 3 weeks. And let's say if he's gone for the season, of course, the Lakers are finished. They're not going to win a championship without AD in this roster, right? But let's say it's 2 to 3 weeks, but instead of that, they double it. It's 4 to 6 weeks just to be careful.
Which I think they should double.
And he comes back okay. Then you have guys on this roster like Taylor Horton Tucker. Remember what he was doing in the preseason? You have guys like Caruso who've played beyond where people thought they could play, KCP, et cetera, et cetera. The point is, if LeBron is able to build those guys up and find dimensions in their game that they're not normally called upon to put forth, and gets that group of guys going, when AD comes back, it will be more likely, not less, that the Lakers repeat.
Okay. Charlie, we're going to end this segment this way. Max, allow me to end the segment this way. If Anthony Davis is any less than 85%, there is no way in hell the Lakers are winning the championship. I promise you that. Now, you can debate whether they come out of the West or not, and I don't think they'll do that. But they damn sure ain't beating the Brooklyn Nets, who I believe is going to the finals. They ain't beating Brooklyn with that offensive firepower unless Anthony Davis is at least 85%. LeBron's and everybody else is at 100%. There is no way in hell. Might not get by the
Clippers, the Jazz, or the Nuggets.
Let me be very clear about that. Let me be very clear. I'm looking towards the future. Because this season, to me, the way Anthony Davis is looking right now, that calf, which could be an Achilles, I got news for you. Ain't no championship a part of the equation. It's a wrap.
Yeah, well, injuries like this, it's been lingering for Anthony Davis. He sat out 2 games, thought he felt better, came back, already re-aggravated himself, had a calf strain. So you're right, might be worth just sitting out, seeing what's up for next season. All right, guys, let's leave it there because we have some NFL.
Come out in street clothes because a team is going to trade him is bull. Because when James Harden asked for a trade and essentially dogged it, I don't think there was no surprise or there's no one's going to fight back that James was dogging it his last days in Houston. But he was castrated for wanting to go to a different team, and everybody destroyed that man. And yet a team can come out and say, oh, we want to trade a guy, and then that guy is to go sit. And if he doesn't stay professional, then he's a cancer, and he's not good in someone's locker room, and he's the issue. At some point, as players, we need to be treated with the same respect and have the same rights that the team can have. Because as a player, you're the worst person in the world when you want a different situation. But a team can say they're trading you, and that man is to stay in shape. He is to stay professional, and if not, his career is on the line. At some point, this league has to protect the players from embarrassment like that.
Hey, everybody. Welcome on into First Take. I'm Charlie Arnold. We got Max Kellerman, Stephen A. Smith. Guys, we have a lot to get to. You just heard Draymond, Stephen A.
Charlie, listen, we are about to get into a very serious subject in regards to Draymond Green and Max Kellerman. I just wanted to say, before we get into that, I want to start off this show on a high note, Max. I want to show you how excited I am, how passionate I am, how good I feel this morning. Did you see my Knicks? Did you see them? Did you see him last night? You see Julius Randle drop that 44 points, Max Kellerman?
44.
Did you see it? I just want to make, before we get into Draymond Green, did you see Julius Randle drop 44? Did you see Julius Randle playing like an all-star? Did you see that the New York Knicks won 3 straight? Max Kellerman? There's some special things happening in Madison Square Garden. There's some special things, man. I'm just trying to tell you, Max. I'm just trying to tell you.
The best, Charlie?
I'm just trying to tell you, Max, there's some special things.
Look at this Knicks fan.
He's like,
we're a game below 500.
I love seeing him like this.
We're a game no one thought we could do it.
Let's not pay attention to such details. Let's think about the high moment right now, okay? Tom Thibodeau's got these boys playing hard, okay? I'm looking at good point guard play. I'm looking at dudes shooting Julius Randle dropping 44. Hey, listen, man, we ain't seen that since Bernard King been at Madison Square Garden. We ain't seen that since Bernard King been at Madison. Well, actually, we saw it with Melo, but you know what I'm saying. I'm just saying. I just
Look, a lot of really positive things to. And I'm happy that you did. I'm happy we started on a high note because we do have some pretty serious comments to address, as you just heard Draymond Green. He sees a lot of discrepancies right now between the league and the players. So, Max, let's start with you. Do you agree with Draymond's comments?
No, I don't. And I think Draymond's confused here. I think that he wants his cake. He wants to eat his cake and have it too. Let's start with the James Harden, because James Harden and Andre Drummond are in two different situations. We know that superstars like James Harden have enormous leverage. They're going to get what they want. Look, James Harden got exactly what he wanted. What Draymond Green is talking about is the owners have more power than the players. Right, I'm pro-labor. I'm generally in these issues, I come down pro-labor. But the fact of the matter is that's the world we live in, certainly. If you amass huge pools of capital and you can own something, you usually have more power than the labor, against which you negotiate, right? Okay, so the owners are running a de facto monopoly on basketball in North America. If you want to compete at the highest level and make a lot of money, got to play in the NBA. And the players are at a disadvantage when they come to the table for the collective bargaining sessions. But they get what they can, and the owners wind up better off. Stephen A., if Draymond wants players to have say in where they go every season, if they want all players to be treated that way, there are a couple solutions. One, the players can start a league. Not so easy to do, I know, but they can start a players' league. They could do it. It'd be difficult, but they could do it. That's one thing they can do. Here's another thing they could do. Sign one-year deals. Just sign a series of one-year deals. Some people do that. Michael Jordan did that at the end. One-year contracts every year. If you sign a one-year contract, every year you're a free agent. You can go wherever the hell you want to go. I mean, that's the truth. But if you sign a long-term deal, you're doing it for financial security. And even when you have no trade clauses built in, but especially when you don't, one of the things you're sacrificing in exchange for the multiples of the tens of millions that a superstar might make in one season, one of the things that you exchange for that is your freedom to choose where you're going to play every season. Mm-hmm. But here's the other thing, Stephen A. They don't really sacrifice that. Not the superstars. They'll play exactly. They will sign the contract, for the multi-year contract, right? And they'll still play wherever they want to play, even in the middle of that deal. They'll force themselves out, as James Harden did. They have enough leverage and enough juice to get that done. Now, something's going to have to give. If you're signed up multiple years and you've gotten that security and you're getting that money, and now you've decided I no longer want to play here and you want to force yourself out, you're going to have to look to extra legal or extra contractual ways of doing it. You're going to have to pout or claim injury or be a locker room cancer. But the upshot is this. Harden signed his deal, got all the money, still wound up on the team to which he wanted to be traded. And yes, his reputation did take a little bit of a hit to do it. That's the way it is. That's reality. If players want the ability to go anywhere, like when LeBron James got criticized for going to Miami, Stephen A., 100% on his side. He's a free agent. Go where you want. If you want to sign a series of one-year deals, be a free agent every year, I'll stand up for you right next to Draymond Green and say, hold on, time out. Why are you vilifying this dude? He's free to go where he wants. But Stephen A., if you're in the middle of a long-term deal and you get to play where you want to play, forgive me for not being overly sympathetic that your reputation takes a little bit of hit if, as Draymond admits, you dogged it in order to get traded.
Well, first of all, listen, I think you missed the boat here, and I'm pretty surprised that you missed the boat because you usually don't miss the boat on issues such as this nature. Now, I'll blame it to some degree on somewhat convoluted Draymond Green was or how he came across because it wasn't as clear to some people as it was to maybe somebody like me. But I understood exactly where he was coming from. And I completely agree with Draymond Green. And here's the reason why. Draymond Green, is talking about not just the optics, but the vitriol accorded to players that teams don't necessarily get. And that's unfavorable treatment in the direction of players. That's what he was alluding to. A team that wants the Detroit Pistons come out and announce they're trying to move Blake Griffin. So guess what? They're probably going to sit him down before they make a move. No problem. The Cleveland Cavaliers decided with Andre Drummond. No problem. But James Harden wants out, and he's vilified. Other players might want out, and they're vilified. It's only when it's in concert with the team they represent, that everybody's okay with it. But if a team sits up there and says, we don't want you, we don't give a damn about you, they don't get crucified, they don't get vilified, they don't get held accountable in a court of public opinion. And so even though we somewhat understand that, because a team is entirely different than an individual, and the shrapnel of criticism that they're capable of absorbing is significantly more, per se, than an individual player, what Draymond Green as an individual player is pointing out, particularly in this day and time, black men who to some degree are empowered, whether directly or indirectly. And as a result, society as a whole resenting that the second they flex and exercise whatever level of power that they may have to get what they want, society turns against them. They call them malcontents. They call them problem children. They call them prima donnas. They excoriate them, etc., etc. And what Draymond is saying is, where's that same vitriol? Where's that same intensity when it comes to a team electing, in Andre Drummond's case, just to highlight and illuminate this discussion? You decide you don't want him. He's scheduled to play in the game. He leaves the bench, goes in the locker room, comes back outside in street clothes because you said, guess what? We want to focus on Jared Allen. That's going to compromise your minutes. As a result, you're probably not going to be here. So guess what? Not only do you not play, but you have to sit on the bench in street clothes until we say otherwise. That's kind of humiliating. Yeah. I mean, just let him go home. Let him relax. Let him chill out. Like Detroit evidently is doing with Blake Griffin until you make a move. For him to sit on a bench in street clothes when he's perfectly healthy, averaging what he's averaging, 15 points, 13 rebounds a game, etc. He's not a scrub. This is not a dude that's not healthy. This is not a dude that's not ready to play. Why didn't you play him? And if you're not going to play him, let him go home. But to have him come on the bench, sit there in street clothes, and all under the guise of professionalism because we're in this together and we're going to move you, etc., it still makes you look bad. It subjects you to a level of embarrassment, as Draymond Green pointed out, that's completely unnecessary. And if a player decides, guess what, I don't want to play. Think about it. Put it to you this way, Max. What if James Harden or even Andre Drummond or Blake Griffin sat up there and literally said, I want out, so I'm going to be with the team, and I'm going to sit on the bench, but I'm not playing because I want out of here? Everybody would have lost their damn mind. Who the hell does that player think he is? But the team can do it, and it's not a problem. That's what Draymond Green was trying to explain. And that's not really about the teams. It's not really about the players. It's really about us as the fourth estate, as members of the media, as individuals who disseminate a commentary and punditry about a particular player, whatever. He's like, where's the consistency? And I think Draymond Green makes a very, very valid point when he says that, because there isn't consistency when it comes to the players.
I mean, Stephen A., I think you opened up a whole can of worms, like a whole slew of issues to discuss.
What I do.
But I would say, first of all, let's start with the fourth estate to begin with. You know, we are the fourth estate. When you talk about the most influential sports talk shows, you know, here we are on First Take. You're defending Draymond's point of view. Absolutely. When James Harden wanted to be traded, I got on TV and told the Rockets, you're going to have to trade him. Don't drag this out. Let's not be foolish. James Harden's going to get what he wants. You know, I wouldn't say that the fourth estate has fallen down and simply excoriated the players and not held the teams accountable. The other bigger issue to me is the racial component. As I said yesterday when it came to the NFL and the Jaguars situation, there is an enormous overlap with labor issues and racial issues in this country and in sports leagues. When you said black men, largely the players, right? When we say labor, the players, we are referring to predominantly African-American men in this country, right? That's what we're talking about, not the foreign-born players. The ownership level is almost, with the exception of Michael Jordan, exclusively white. And by the way, Jordan gets to be an owner. It's like what Chris Rock said about his neighbor being a dentist. You know, Chris Rock, one of the most successful people in the world, his neighbor is a white dentist. He said, in order for that if my neighbor were a black dentist, he would have had to invent teeth in order to live in my neighborhood, right? So the point is, the one owner that's not white, is the greatest athlete who ever lived. So yes, the owners who get to make these decisions and come out clean are almost exclusively white, and the players who are forced to use methods that can turn the public and press against them are usually African American. There is a racial overlap there,
I'm going to
obviously.
put it simpler and shorter for you. You're not entirely correct there, because before Michael Jordan became the owner of the Charlotte Hornets, he was a minority owner with the Charlotte Bobcats. The majority owner was a gentleman by the name of Bob Johnson, who was not the greatest player in the world, but he's one of the greatest businessmen, and he was a black man, and he used to own BET and was worth $1.7 billion, and he had a financial portfolio that Larry Bird and his group, who wanted